be careful about those rules and apply them, because otherwise you may end up losing a lot. You are in a chess game at that moment, and one single move could be devastating to you and your company at the strategic level. A startup is a group of people looking for a repeatable business by solving a big problem in a very short time. And to achieve that goal, you probably need external help or external resources. And that's why it's important to understand the different funding stages that a typical startup goes through. And today I'm going to explore the different stages of fundraising, and we're going to explore three main questions for each stage. Number one, where do you get the money from? Second, what kind of KPIs you should be focusing on in that stage? And finally, what do you need to do to prepare for the next stage of your fundraising? So let's dive in. But first, there's a very important question. Why do you bother? Why would you care about understanding those stages? So let's explore this a bit together. So number one, you're going to become a more efficient entrepreneur if you really understand those stages. If you know, for example, that at early stages is all about growing your product and getting a validation, those are the KPIs that you're going to focus your energy on. And also, you're going to know which VCs that you need to fundraise from. Many entrepreneurs get frustrated really quickly when they fundraise because they go and talk to the wrong VCs. They talk, for example, to late stage VCs. Why they need to talk to early stage VCs, which are thinking differently and they have different KPIs in mind. And second, it's going to help you to maintain a healthy control of your company. Many entrepreneurs, unfortunately, when they go very quickly throughout the stages, or sometimes they even skip stages of their fundraising, they give a lot of control too early and they end up with almost no control over the business. As a matter of fact, I know one of my friends who's an entrepreneur who went through those stages very quickly, gave up a lot of equity in return of some cash, and they end up less than 5% of equity in their company. They had very little control on the business and its direction, which was definitely frustrating to them, especially after the many years they invested in their startup. And third, it will help you to maintain healthy operations for your business. Raising money too quickly and going through some of the stages too quickly will add a lot of pressure on you and your operations. Let me give you an example. If you're raising for Series A and you are committing to a certain ARR, annual recurring revenue, and you need to fundraise within 18 months from that, you're under pressure. The clock is ticking at that moment for you to generate those sales very quickly. And if your product is not ready or you did not really reach enough validation of your idea, this will add tremendous pressure on your operations. And you may end up cutting corners, or maybe even worse, going into a down round after that, or a flat round when you fundraise for the next stage. All right, you may tell me, Mo, let's cut into the chase. Let me give you a quick run through the stages, and then we're going to talk about each one in detail. First one is pre-seed, and in this stage, you're focusing on basic validation of your idea and maybe building an MVP. Seed, you have a product that your customers can use and rely on, but you're still early on. It's not the full product with all the features that you are dreaming of. A is where you're close to the product market fit. You did enough validation, and now it's time to hire, your sales and your marketing team. B, C, D, all those three stages is all about growing, and we're going to talk about what kind of growth you should achieve for each one of these. And by the way, you're going to find in the description below a link to an infographic explaining all the stages, main KPIs you should be focusing on, and exploring all those stages in a visual way. Download that infographic and keep it in front of you all the time. So the first stage is the pre-seed stage. And at that stage, you just have an idea, maybe you have a presentation, maybe you stitch together a quick prototype. And at that stage, you can fundraise from friends and family, angel investors, and of course, there are some institutional VCs that support that stage. And you need to focus on three main KPIs. Number one, talking to as many customers as possible and show to your investors that you have been getting some sort of a good validation of your product. And second, building a prototype or an MVP, a minimal viable product that shows how your product is going to work. And third, showing some traction with some of those customers. If you're B2B, maybe a letter of intent, or maybe if you're targeting consumers, some sort of pre-registrations or a big list of people who are interested to get your product when it's out. Now, to prepare for the next stage, you need to do two main things. Find a way to show the traction. And again, there are easy KPIs for that. How many registered users? How many in your mailing list? How many letter of intent or maybe serious discussions that you're having with other businesses? And second, show a progress in building your product. People need to see your product in order to say that you're, yes, ready for the next stage. Now, the next stage is the seed stage. And in this stage, you're showing some serious traction of your business or your product idea, customers using your product or your MVP. And you can fundraise at that stage from institutional VCs. You can still continue to raise from angel investors, friends and family, but this is the right time when you start engaging institutional VCs. And at that specific stage, there are three main indicators of a healthy progression of your business. Number one, you are still growing in traction. You're having customers who are interested in your product. And second, probably you should start thinking about having paid customers. Having somewhere between 1 and 10 paid customers is going to be helpful a lot for the fundraising of the next stage. And third, a solid strategy in general. You know where the market is heading. You know your position as a company or as a product at least. And that actually takes me to how do you prepare for the next stage? The next stage is all about showing an explosive growth for your investors or to your investors. And what you need to show here is I'm able to get some paid customers. You as a founder are able to do some of the basic sales, or maybe the product has some of the success elements for customers to upgrade within the product and buy some services from you. And second, you need to have clear strategy about how are you going to grow your business, because in the next stage, you're going to ask for much bigger sum of money and you're going to start to hire for marketing and sales, and you have to have an idea how are you going to orchestrate all those business functions together. Now you reach Series A or A round in your fundraising process when you achieve two things. You have some paying customers, and second, there is an explosive growth in the usage of your product. And the main sources of funding, again, are still institutional VCs. But there's one important detail that you need to take care of here, which is fundraising from VCs who can follow their investments in the upcoming series, or at least can give you a bridge round. Series A is a very tricky stage. This is where you are graduating from testing an idea to a product market fit. And many companies spend longer than expected at that specific stage. So you may need additional money in the near future. So you want to make sure that you are raising from a big enough VCs that can invest in this area. Now, you need to focus on three main KPIs in Series A. Number one, you are having repeatable paying customers. And second, you're using the same message to acquire new customers, which means that you're very close to the PMF. And third, you have your operations somehow in order. You have a machine or a basic business machine. You have some marketing, you have some sales. And by the way, in Series A, most of the sales will be done still by the founders. And you have, of course, product and engineering organization, all of them that will work together to keep your business going and growing. Now, how do you prepare for the next stage? The next stage, which is Series B, is all about growth and finding a clear path to profitability. This is something that you need to start thinking of in Series A. How am I going to get into profitability stage? You may not achieve that in Series B, but you should have a path. How am I going to grow my customer base? How am I going to grow my team with very specific message and clear functional responsibilities so that we scale the number of customers that we have and we're able to scale the business? So let's move on to Series B. Now you get into the B round or the B stage when you already have the PMF or the product market fit, and it's time now to scale your company. And by the way, at that specific stage, what matters more than anything else is the numbers of your business. How much are you making each year? What is the growth rate? Are you efficient in your operations or not? Or at least do you have a clear path to be profitable in the near future or not? Again, you still need to raise from institutional VCs, and probably a lot of the startups, they would raise from existing VCs because now they see that there is a big value in the business and the business is about to be profitable. So why not contributing more and gaining more? There are a few KPIs that are key to that stage. Number one, how much money are you making? Are you growing in your ARR or not? Or annual recurring revenue? Are you getting more customers or not? Are you maintaining the old customers, or your customers are just coming in, using your product for a very short period of time, and then they leave you because they did not find what you are promising them? Are you winning against the competition or not? Are you gaining a bigger market share or not? Now, to prepare for the next stage, it's relatively simple to think about it, but it's not easy to do it. You need to improve those metrics. You need to show that you are making more money, you're still growing, and you need to show that your product can grow into different markets and can achieve more revenue or help you to get more revenue within your company. Now, I will combine C round and B and D and E. Some companies even reached F, but all those stages have common characteristics. It continues through the path of improving the economics of the company. It's all about growing your revenue. It's all about becoming profitable. At the end, your goal is to become an independent, profitable company. This is where you now graduate from being a vulnerable startup to a strong and big business that can go to the stock market or do the IPO stage. And you need to keep working fanatically on improving those numbers. Otherwise, if you go to the IPO stage and while still losing money, you're probably going to lose a lot of the value of your company, or maybe you're not going to be able even to be listed in the stock market. Now, I would like to leave you with 3 main tips that would help you throughout the whole journey. What I shared with you today are just general idea about what the VCs would be looking for and how your company should be staged from one funding round to another. But it's changing and it depends a lot on the mode of the market. But there's some universal rules that you can apply to that whole journey. Number 1, do not give away in a single round more than 25 to 30% of the company equity to a VC. If you do more than that, probably it's going to hurt you a lot in the next round. And second, always test the waters with your VCs. Test with them. What kind of KPIs are they looking for to fund you in the next stage? Even after you get funding from VCs, the first meeting after you close the round with them is to ask them, what KPIs are you looking for? What do we need to improve in the business? And the third one is be careful about overvaluing your company. Overvaluing your company will harm your company in 2 ways. Number 1, when you overvalue your company and get a lot of cash, there's more pressure on you and on your team to get into profitability and generate more sales much quicker, which might not be possible given the market that you're at and the stage of your company. And second, you are more vulnerable to down round from that point, which means that you're going to be diluted a lot. And being diluted in those rounds, especially in the early stages, may end up you having less than 5% of the company, like some of my entrepreneur friends. And you're going to end up just a glorified employee rather than a founder, controlling the company and owning the vision of the company. The control will be in the hands of the board. Now, be careful about those rules and apply them, because otherwise you may end up losing a lot. You are in a chess game at that moment, and one single move could be devastating to you and your company at the strategic level. Think a lot about your fundraising stages.